Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you my building process of this new guitar that I bought off Amazon. This is part 2 of a video series showing the actual assembly and painting of this Amazon guitar DIY kit that I bought. If you haven't seen part 1, that video was posted last week on my channel, so you can check out the unboxing of the Amazon guitar. But what I decided to do was make a version of the Van Halen Shark guitar. I decided to make it the Unshark guitar. The Unshark meaning I just couldn't bring it to myself to cut the chunk out of the body of the guitar that Eddie had on the famous Shark guitar, because he said it ruined the tone of the instrument, and I would have had to do a few modifications. So I decided to do basically a tribute in honor of the Shark and make it the Unshark. So I hope you enjoy the video. I'm not the greatest guitar builder in the world. I've assembled, I should say, maybe 26, 27 guitars over the last 4 years. I've gotten decent at it. I just do it as a pastime, and for what it is, they come out pretty nice, and I enjoy playing them. So let's check out the video, and you'll get to see the trials and tribulations of putting together this Amazon guitar kit and how it turned out, and basically if it was any good or not. Okay, so what I was going to do with this thing was going to make a EVH Shark guitar out of it. Many of you probably know the EVH Shark series guitars that are out, but it's got a big cut that Eddie Van Halen cut out of the guitar that makes it look like a shark mouth. But I can't cut this piece of wood. I just can't bring myself to cut it. So what I've decided to do is take some 220 sandpaper, and I was just getting this to be super smooth. It's already pretty nice out of the box. Get the edges nice and smooth, and I'm gonna shoot it with some primer, wood filler primer, and then sand it a little bit more just to get it nice and extra smooth before I start to put the first coat on there. But I'm gonna paint this thing silver and red. I'm gonna paint it like the EVH Shark, but it's gonna be the Shark guitar without the cutout. Eddie always said that cutout ruined the tone of the guitar, so I'm gonna take his word for it, and I'm gonna unshark the Shark. But it's gonna be an EVH Shark paint scheme inspired Explorer. This is more like an Ibanez Destroyer, since it's got the tone and the toggle switch holes here. The Shark also had the pick guard removed with that route that had the toggle switch wire that had the toggle switch there, and this open gouge, and that's just really ugly, man. I'm a Van Halen freak, but the Shark guitar is it's just so damn ugly. And I like the paint scheme. I like the silver and the red, so I'm going to make this the improved Unshark guitar. So gonna sand it down a little bit with some 220 and spray it with the primer filler, then give it a little bit of a sand down, and then we'll go from there. One last thing, this is the stuff I'm going to use. I've never used this 2-in-1 primer. It says it's for wood. It's labeled automotive, but I've had when I've spray painted guitars before in the past, it just sometimes the wood sucks that paint in so deep. Even if you prime it just, you can still see the wood grain, and I don't want to see that. So hopefully this is a wood filler and a sandable primer, so 2-in-1. So hopefully that'll do the trick. But I like the Krylon stuff. We'll give it a shot. Another key thing to do that I didn't mention is get some of this grade 0000 steel wool, and once I sanded this thing down and got a little bit of the roughness out of it in a few areas, I'm going to run this super fine steel wool over it for just a little while, and it'll get this body really smooth. That way when you shoot the primer on it, the primer doesn't have any of that surface edge popping up through the primer, because anything that paint will not cover bumps and little burls and stuff that you feel. They will still be there through the paint. So don't think the paint's gonna be thick enough. It doesn't cover up everything. You gotta make sure this wood is as smooth as you want it to feel before you put the paint on it. And try not to rush it. That's my big problem is rushing things. Take your time. Get this wood to feel just as smooth as you want it to feel when you're playing it when it's finished. So this is good stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to show the spray painting. That's I don't really have the best area to video the spray painting. So I've got the body drying right now. The body's got some primer on it, and I've got the neck taped up. One thing you got to really make sure that you do is on these necks, when you use painter's tape, make sure you get the lines perfect where the fretboard meets the wood, so you don't have like something like this. I got to straighten that out here in just a second, but make sure the tape is really firmly gripping the neck, so you don't get underspray onto the fretboard. And I doubled up an extra layer of tape on the frets itself just to be extra careful. I always put some tape where the glue is going to meet the body. I don't really think it matters, but I just want wood on wood when I glue this. And I've got this taped up, and we're going to shoot this with primer, because ultimately this will wind up getting a coat of the metallic silver, and then we'll stripe it and then paint it red. So we're going to get this sprayed in just a moment. Okay, so I got this thing finished up last night as far as the priming. I shot it with some automotive filler, wood filler primer, and it looks really good. I put an entire can of the stuff on this. You can see that the wood grain is shining through a little bit. That's okay. It's a little gritty. One thing about when you prime stuff, it's gonna pick up it may pick up some pieces of dust if you're just a amateur like me. And truthfully, the primer isn't smooth. I mean, once you put a lot on there, it's going to have a little bit of a porous feel to it. Here's the neck. I got this primed really good, and it's still taped off. So what I'm going to do today, the first part of today, is I'm going to sand this down. I've got some finishing sandpaper. Just going to rub a little bit of this 600 grit on it and get the bumpiness out of it. Anytime that you feel that on a paint job, the paint's not going to cover that up. Like if it's primed, it's not going to get smoother. So you gotta smooth it out as good as you can. Be patient. It's time consuming, and but it's necessary. So we're going to sand this down a little bit, hang it up, and we're going to shoot it with some silver. I've got some metallic silver, and the base coat's going to be a silver, and when that dries, we'll sand that just a little bit, and then we'll tape it up and stripe it, paint it red. Okay, just an update. The 600 grit sandpaper really made this primer super smooth. There's not a bump or an abrasion on it, so the neck, everything feels perfect. It's really nice. One thing about these kit guitars and these bare bodies, that the sides of these bodies always have a really rough edge to them. and they'll always feel that way if you don't sand them down properly. On the back side where the input jacks are, anything on the edge of the mahogany or the body wood is always really rough, and this came out super smooth, so I'm really happy with it. So it's going to feel great with the paint on it. Alright, so now it's time. I'm going to put this metallic paint and primer on it. It's this metallic silver, so this ought to look pretty sweet. I'm going to check this out. Alright, so after 2 days of letting this paint dry, I think it's ready to put the red on. I'm going to tape this thing up similar to the Shark, the EVH Shark. This is obviously going to be the Unshark. I'm not going to cut the body, and the toggle switch is going to be right there in the middle. But I'm digging how this silver paint came out, and I like the texture of this wood, the grain that you can see under it. It's pretty nice. This neck looks good. Had a couple issues painting it. I accidentally got that messed up, and I mean, this stuff never goes perfect. I'm not an expert. I'm decent, and then I laid it down on some cardboard, so I'm gonna have to sand this down a little bit when I spray it. Hopefully that'll come out. And the back of this thing looks like this. So overall, it's a nice coat of paint. Not any weird spots on it. Everything is coated really nice, so I'm pretty excited to get this thing sanded down a little bit and tape it up and get this red on it. Okay, so the hardest part about this project probably is getting these stripes to look as close as possible. So I've got the painter's tape on the body, and I didn't have any side views, so I just kind of assumed what the side views would look like, top and bottom. But there's the back, and my pile of scrap tape that I used, but it looks pretty good, man. I think this is gonna look good. So I'm gonna bring it down to the garage and spray a little bit of red on this and see what we got. So the red that I'm using is this basically this Rust-Oleum satin apple red. It's not a gloss, but I've got a gloss clear coat I'm going to put on this later. So hopefully this will look pretty cool. After we do this, I'm going to tape up the neck and get that striped and then spray it red. Alright, so I've got the tape off of it, and I ran some super fine steel wool over the body and the neck, and I'm pretty impressed. I really am digging the way that this came out. I've still got to wipe it down a little bit with a wet cloth and clean it up a bit, but things are looking good. I'm about to put the neck on it, glue it in, clamp it down, which I'll film that process once I get it. Well, I'll probably film it once I get it clamped on there. And the nice thing about building these guitars is you don't have to be absolutely perfect. I got a little bit of a glitch right there. It rested on a piece of cardboard, so yeah, you know, there's gonna be little glitches along the way. I don't claim to be a super pro at this by any stretch, but I'm pretty psyched about it. This thing's gonna be cool. Once I get the neck glued on, I'll let it set for a day and clamp it down real good so it's firm and tight, and then we'll wire it up. One weird thing is I didn't look super hard, but I couldn't really find any side views of what the tape looked like on the sides of the guitar, so I just kind of improvised, and I think it looks pretty awesome without the chunk cut out of it. So this will be the Unshark, obviously, but yeah, pretty cool. Alright, so about 15 minutes later, we got this thing clamped on, and it looks pretty good. So I mean, I decided not to put the bridge posts on it and test the strings as far as just to make sure the neck was on perfectly straight. This neck fit so tight into the body, there was zero wiggle room at all. So I just pressed it in and took at the butt end of a screwdriver and a mallet and a rubber mallet and gently got that neck tendon right there flush to the body. And you can see some glue down in there. That's okay, no big deal. Got some wood glue. I had to wipe the wood glue off the body where it joins right there. That's typical when you clamp something down, you get some glue, but that'll be fine. And so 24 hours, we'll let this thing get super strong. And then what I'll wind up doing is cleaning it up a little bit and maybe just buff it a little bit more, and then I'll clear coat it. And once we get it clear coated, I'll do the final assembly and see if it's actually gonna be a decent guitar, at least playable. Cool. All right, so it's time to take this clamp off the guitar. It's been 24 hours since this guitar has been glued, and hopefully everything will be all right. I'm gonna take this clamp off the neck and shine up the guitar a little bit, clean it up, and we'll hang it for a clear coat. I gotta put some tape on the neck again and get this neck taped up, so when I clear coat it, it won't get on the fretboard, of course. But everything has been steel wooled and smoothed out really nice. So just now it's time to unclamp it, tape up the fretboard, and shoot some clear coat. So we're getting close. I'm getting pretty excited. All right, so after one day of letting the clear coat dry completely, I'm ready to buff this thing up a bit. But this is pretty much it, warts and all, and not bad. There's some rough spots on it, but nothing terrible. I mean, this is a striped kit guitar, so I'm not after absolute 100% perfection on the finish. I don't want it to look terrible, in my opinion, but the thing came out. So far, it's coming out pretty good, and we'll see. I'm gonna put this rubbing compound on it. I use this stuff here. This stuff works great with lacquer. This gloss clear coat is not a lacquer; it's just a gloss clear coat. So I don't know what it's gonna do with the clear coat when I buff this in a little bit. But I'm just gonna rub it in with a rough cloth for a while and just try to get a little bit of a sheen out of it and smooth out any of the little maybe some of the bumps that are in the gloss coating. So anyway, after this it'll be on to putting on the tuners. Probably do that first, and the wiring. All right, so we got it buffed up. Spent a little bit of time, a little bit of elbow grease, put some rubbing compound on it and some Dunlop 65 afterwards, and this thing buffed up really nice. I'm really happy with this clear coat, and once again, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is supposed to be a spray painted Van Halen guitar, but I wanted it to look as good as I could do it with my limited skill set. But there's the back side of it, and it's pretty darn shiny, man. The neck is nice. So hopefully those tuners fit the headstock that I bought, and these tuners are locking tuners that I'm going to put in the headstock first. So if they don't fit, I'm going to have to drill these holes out slightly. So we'll see how that goes. So that's next. All right, so the tuners fit fine. I used the existing screw holes that were in here. They're made the tuners just a little bit, maybe a little bit off center, but overall it looks okay. I may straighten these up if it looks really awkward. This one's super different, but I mean I used the I used the holes that were drilled out for the tuners. I didn't want to drill extra holes. I just didn't want to put extra holes in the headstock, but they fit fine, so I'm going to leave it as is for now and see how it looks. And if I need to straighten these out, I'll certainly do that. But now I'm going to put on the strap buttons, wire the Guitar Madness pickups, and put the pots in. Okay, for simplicity, what I'm going to do is take these Guitar Madness pickups. These are the Guitar Madness 59ers. It's kind of cool. They send you a little wiring diagram just in case you need to see what is your hot and your ground. These are 4-wire pickups. So if I later wanted to put a tap coil, like a split coil volume pot in there, I could. But I'm just going to keep it just a standard humbucker, no split. But I'm going to take the easy way out. I took the brackets off of these cheaper kit pickups. I'm going to keep these ceramic pickups. In my past history, these pickups are microphonic and they don't sound good, so I'm just not going to take the chance. So I'm gonna take the cheap way out and see how it sounds. But these things are clipped in to these little connectors, which is, I'm fine with that. And I'm going to use these. I'm going to use the volume and the tone pot with this cheap 3-way switch. I've got some extra switches and pots, but I'm going to keep this all wired together. It's ready to go. It's set up for this guitar. So I'm going to cut these wires closer to this right here, and I'm going to just solder the hot and the ground into each respective connector, which will be really simple and fast. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully these pots sound okay, not crackly or anything weird. And these toggle switches in my past history have been okay. I haven't had one wear out yet, but you know, nothing like a switchcraft, but still gonna give that a spin. Alright, so we ran into a little bit of a snafu as usual. No guitar build is complete without some kind of a glitch, but looks like the neck is not, when I glued it in all the way, and it's touching the body here, and there's this little piece that is preventing the pickup ring from being, it's just barely not enough room to get the pickup mounted in there. So I could screw it directly into the body, but I'd have to put some wood blocks in there and screw it in. I'm not going to deal with that today. So I'm going to take my Dremel tool, which is right here. I'm going to gently route out this section right here so I can get this pickup in. So yeah, fun times. Okay, so that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I put the pickup in. I was going to take it out so you could see it, but it is not wanting to come out of the guitar. So I just routed up underneath on the neck there on the bottom side of the fretboard, and this thing just popped in, but it's in there good now. Alright, I keep forgetting to like update and video some of this stuff, so hopefully this is all making sense chronologically. But what I've done is I put the tone pot in the slot. These are just these little tiny Chinese pots. I'm not trying to put down Chinese parts or anything. They sound fine. They're just, sometimes they don't last as long or they have issues when they're new, but just wanted to make that clear. What I've done is I've got the pickup wires. This one is for the bridge, and this one is the neck pickup right here. So this setup has got the clip-in connectors for easy installation. So what I've done is I've cut the clips off of I cut the pickups off that came with this setup and left this connector, so I can just solder the hot and the ground to this, which will be super easy. Once I solder these together, tape it up, put the pots in, it should be good to go. I'll check the sound and make sure it's right, and then put the knobs on it, string it up, and then it'll be well, actually I've got the ground wire attached to this thing right here. So this ground wire is going to have to go. There's a small hole right there. I'll have to run the ground through there and make sure this ground wire touches one of the metal posts for the bridge, so it'll ground. A lot of these Chinese kits that I've had in the past didn't have a ground hole drilled in for a stop tail bridge piece, and that's a hard hole to drill, so I'm glad they did all that. So that's a very critical piece. If you don't get this put in there properly, you will have a ground issue that is challenging to fix, taking those posts out and drilling the hole. So I'm gonna keep plugging away here. All right, so progress is being made. I've got the pickups fully installed. I got the pots, the toggle switch installed. Put the posts in. The ground wire is securely underneath this post, so that's good. Got the wiring back here. I got them taped in temporarily so I can move this guitar around, but everything is checking out fine. The pickups have a signal to the amp. The tone works. The volume works. So hopefully no ground issues. Everything will be fine with that. As you can see, you can see the wood grain here. Under this light, you can see it better. You can still see the texture of that wood, which is fine with me. It's kind of orange peely a little bit, but man, this thing looks cool. I love the way this thing is coming out. So now I'm going to put the Tune-O-Matic bridge on it, put some strings on it, and we'll see what the neck feels like. That is the big test at the end, is do the frets have any high spots, any high frets, any dead frets? And I just have a suspicion it's not going to be good, but fingers crossed. So we'll get that going here in just a second. Okay, so the Unshark is done, and I gotta say, I got it set up nice. It didn't take a lot of work to get it set up the way that I wanted it. I had to tighten the truss rod just a little bit and make sure the bridge was raised up properly for string height. Didn't really take much effort to get it where the frets don't buzz and there's good action. It plays really awesome, and these Guitar Madness 59er pickups, first impressions are impressive. I really dig this guitar. So I'm going to run it through my Fractal, my Axe 8, and this gloss really is shiny. It looks like there's orange peel on this guitar, but there's really not a lot of orange peel. It's the wood. The grain of this wood is shining through. I like that, and I like how, when I was buffing it a little bit between paint jobs, some of the paint would come off, and it kind of gave it a natural relic look. At one point it was hanging up above my sink drying, and it dropped and it got a little bit of a ding, so that's a natural relic. I don't care. Backside of it looks nice. Control plate is on there, and one thing I don't like is the holes that were drilled for these tuners weren't perfectly straight, so these tuners are a little crooked looking. They don't look that bad, but it bothers me. I got some clear coat there. It looks like just little droplets of water. That was my clear coat. I'm just not going to peel that off. That adds tone, actually. So yeah, I'm pretty happy, man. This took about a week to finish up. I had to wait for the paint to dry, and I was very patient, which is not like me. And I was patient and got it done, so it paid off, I think. Right, Rufus?
Bye.